This really does feel like the moment where James Gunn figured out the template for what his future films would be like. What's up guys, welcome to the channel, I'm Nick, and today we are going to be ranking all 7 James Gunn movies from the worst to the best. Now this list only includes movies that he's directed, so movies that he only wrote, like the Scooby-Doo films, are not going to be included, and with that said, let's get started. In last place, we have Slither. Now this is a fun body horror film for James Gunn's debut, and it takes a lot of bold swings with the grotesqueness in the gore and the humor. Now the monster in this movie is actually very interesting because it has a very comic booky feel where there's a bunch of slugs running around to try to get into people to consume their bodies and everything. And then you have a bunch of worm things and everything where it's kind of reminiscent of the Venom symbiote. So you already have that James Gunn comic book flair in his debut film, which is an original horror story. And the characters we have in here are very quirky and they're fun to follow, even if a little underdeveloped. Now what I will say is that sometimes the shticks in this film can get old. Like, we get it, Mr. Mayor dude, you love swearing and saying sex jokes and blah 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 blah, we get it. Like, some things like that just grow a little old, but the humor is able to stay fresh throughout a lot of this. And for James Gunn's debut film, I thought this was actually pretty solid, and for Slither to be last place on the list is just a testament to how much I do enjoy James Gunn's filmography. So for Slither, if you are a fan of the Venom mythology, horror comedies, James Gunn's flair, and just having a little comic book feel to something, I highly recommend that you check out Slither. In 6th place, we have Super. Now this is James Gunn's first take with a superhero film where it's not a person with powers, it's Rainn Wilson deciding to step up to become the Crimson Bolt, a superhero to take down crime.
Shut up, crime!
Now this kind of reminds me of what a test run for James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie would be, with how it's stylized and everything, where you have, like, flashing words on screen, you have overtly rated R humor, comic book graphics going everywhere, so it's kind of what James Gunn was building up to for his career, which is what makes this movie interesting to watch if you're hardcore into the James Gunn movies. And this is really the start of where he takes a quirky, offbeat character, focuses on them, and makes you feel empathy for them and want you to see them grow throughout the rest of the film, and that's exactly what we get here with Rainn Wilson's character. He absolutely nails it as the Crimson Bolt, with no action moment going to waste. Every single time he pulls up to fight crime, it is the funniest thing you'll see, and it just shows how good James Gunn is with this style of humor. Now sometimes with the jokes, the edgelord humor had me rolling my eyes a bit, where it's like, okay, we're going a little too far, or what was the point of doing that joke again? But that is more of a personal thing. If that is your style of humor, you're gonna love this movie a lot. I was laughing for the majority of this too, so it's not that the movie just isn't funny or falls flat because of that. This is just a very fun movie, and this really does feel like the moment where James Gunn figured out the template for what his future films would be like, where you have the empathetic, offbeat lead, you have the comic book flair going everywhere, you have James Gunn's wild humor that takes very bold directions. So this, while 6th place on the list, this feels like the moment where we really saw what James Gunn would want to do for the future. In 5th place, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now this might be the Marvel movie that I have watched the most in my lifetime, because I grew up obsessed with Baby Groot.
I am Groot. No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone!
All the scenes with him and Rocket, I would just have on loop on YouTube, and then I'd watch the movie all the time. So this is the one that I just have ingrained in my mind the most. And I'm fine with that, because I really do love Guardians 2. I think it does hold up pretty well. I mean, granted, it's only 8 years, but from growing up with it, I still think the film holds up really well. It hits really well on the emotion with Peter Quill and his dad, who isn't exactly the best person, but the moments before we get to that big reveal of Ego being, you know, cuckoo, we have some really heavy-hitting moments, and the way it incorporates Yondu into this story, I think, is very well done, and really reinforcing the messages of found family that draws this group closer together. And I would also argue that this is the funniest in the Guardians trilogy. I think some of the funnier moments come from 1 and 3, but I think as a whole, this is the funniest one. You have Baby Groot's antics, Rocket is at his snarkiest, you have a bunch of one-liners from Drax that are so stupid, but they're hilarious. Star-Lord is at his quippiest, so there's just so many moments in this film that will have you laughing, like, off the couch, basically just rolling on the floor. However, I do think this is the slowest of the trilogy, which holds it back for me a bit, but this is still a very heartfelt and hilarious Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and still in the top half of the MCU for me.
That's a really bad sign.
In fourth place, The Suicide Squad. Now, James Gunn takes what works really well with the Guardians trilogy and puts it in a very overtly rated horror film for DC's favorite group of anti-heroes. It lets James Gunn go all out with the R rating. He doesn't have to restrain himself with a PG-13 rating. Not saying that he can't do good with a PG-13 movie, because the top 3 are all in that rating, but this lets him just completely let loose with the jokes he wants to make, how violent he wants it to go, and just the overall tone he wanted to have for this film. I'd also say that it is probably the most stylized film in his filmography, where you have scenes like the Harley Quinn escape, where you have the flower graphics going everywhere, then you have other scenes where there's flashing visuals going just all over the place, taking over the whole screen, and I just love this visual style that he brought to the Suicide Squad. Like the Guardians trilogy, the Suicide Squad is able to make us connect to this group of anti-heroes and make them feel heroic, where Harley Quinn, we know, is not exactly the greatest person, but the Suicide Squad brings her and a bunch of other characters like her into empathy. It sheds light on them as people, and it gives you a very good look at their heroic acts, and that's why I think the Suicide Squad works very well and is a huge upgrade over the 2016 version. In third place, we have Superman. Now, of his 5 superhero films, I think this is the one that has the most comic book energy to it, where you have the vibrant colors, you have an episodic feel where a group of scenes feel like they could just be their own standalone issue of Superman, and then it perfectly blends zany kaiju fights with heartfelt romance and really takes on being the freshest take of Superman and the DC universe that we really could have asked for. David Corenswet is perfectly cast as Superman, really just showing a very hopeful version that we have been lacking. For as much as I do enjoy Henry Cavill, we did need this Superman back. And everyone else was perfect in this movie too, and Nicholas Hoult stealing the show as Lex Luthor, you can tell that guy really hates Superman. With his facial expressions, that dude is not playing. But every scene in this movie is able to show hope and humanity, showing us that kindness is the real punk rock. In second place, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. Our first introduction to our favorite set of Guardians is still one of my favorite films in the MCU, probably in my top 5 still. That's how much I really do enjoy this movie. We meet these immediately likable criminals and give them redemption as they join together to be in their newfound family. The humor is on point, with every character just having their own unique style, where Groot is just clumsy, Rocket's very sarcastic, so is Star-Lord, but different kinds, and just the way that they all play off each other and the chemistry between this group is off the charts, and seeing them grow into family as the film goes on is such a very great thing and rewarding thing to watch. The action and the soundtrack all deliver, with so many standout action moments in this film, and a soundtrack that I've had on loop for basically my entire life, and brought light to these older songs for a new generation, which I think is great. And then it also does a very good job at showing the cosmic side of the MCU for the first time, really, and is able to build a very nice world for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but it also adds enough mystery for the rest of the MCU to grow on this side. And this movie is so good that I spent a lot of time debating on whether this should be first or second, but at the end of the day, I ended up giving first place to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is easily the best MCU film post-Endgame. As much as I do love No Way Home, and I did enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine a bit, those two feel more like event films for the multiverse and everything, while Guardians of the Galaxy feels like a very well-rounded, complete conclusion to the Guardians trilogy, and the most like a film post-Endgame. This is the best conclusion that we really could have had to the Guardians trilogy, where I would also argue that this is the most emotional film in the MCU. Yes, we have Endgame, but I think just throughout the entire thing, you're just feeling emotion, where Rocket's backstory is one of the most depressing things we have in the MCU, and every time they flash back to it, you're feeling something, whether it's sadness, anger, both of it, all of it combined. And I've had multiple people tell me that they've had to grab tissues at several points in this film from how hard they hit with Rocket's story. The High Evolutionary is one of the most hateable and easy to root against villains in the entire franchise, because of how torturous this guy is to animals, where you just truly despise him. And Chakudi Iwuji's performance is so good with just the anger and raw hate that he shows and the carelessness to what he's doing. His performance was phenomenal to give us one of the most memorable villains in the MCU. And it also keeps the stakes super high, as it has that looming end-of-the-road feel, so when you're first watching it, you don't know who's gonna make it out of this movie alive, where all the theories were Rocket was gonna die or Star-Lord was, and I was like in my seat in the theater. I just remember it vividly, going, please don't kill off Rocket, please don't kill him off. Even on a rewatch and following up with this movie, you just still feel those stakes because of how threatening High Evolutionary is, and just what James Gunn brought to the very conclusive feel. But on top of all the emotion, we have the classic Guardians of the Galaxy humor and soundtrack, adding joy and humor to a very like dark ending for this trilogy and what they want to dive into. And this is truly the most fitting ending for this group in the MCU. Whether we see more of them in the future or not, this is the best way we could have sent our characters off. And that is why Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is my favorite James Gunn film. Now, thank you all for watching and making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to drop your James Gunn rankings in the comments. Have you seen Slither or Super? If you haven't, I would highly recommend checking them out if you're a big James Gunn fan. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.